Hey guys, back with another target audience reaction. So this is going to be a kind of unique one. I'm going to still do it, for the phone to watch normally, like this way. However, I'm going to do this as a longer, a non-short. Because of the fact that this is for all good things. This is for the end of the show, and I'm going to talk for probably about 5 or 10 minutes, giving a lot of thoughts on, my Star Trek journey and, parallels, not the episode, but, to some of their thoughts and very huge differences to their journey. I grew up, TNG was already on in the 90s. So I kind of, my first exposure was reruns. I'm going to say like season probably 4 or 5 and somewhere in there. And, so yeah, like I didn't start off with TOS. I didn't start off, doing a journey all the way through. I saw TNG and I had never seen any of the movies, and it wasn't until later on that I really got into Star Trek and started watching it like repetitively, that I was like, wait, there's movies? And like, I had seen a few episodes. I knew of Kirk and Spock, but I hadn't really watched any. To me, it was that corny 60s, TV show where like 60s sci-fi, or again, like Twilight Zone and Outer Limits, and at the time it just was not my thing, and I didn't see much enjoyment out of it. But kind of hokey, and Kirk at his most eccentric, and all the puns and making fun of Star Trek, and whether it's in good humor or not, everything from SNL to Mad TV to, whatever, and Living Color, everyone did, Ace Ventura had bits of, Jim Carrey acting like Scotty and stuff like that. So suffice it to say, quite a bit different journey throughout Star Trek than they had. That being said, I'm going to talk about All Good Things specifically first, and what I thought of their reaction, what I think of the episode in general. And so, yeah, All Good Things, it is kind of the quintessential series finale. I think it scratches that itch for most of us. I think there were things that I always wondered, or I wish I could have seen more on, or they could have fleshed out, a little bit longer, a little bit more time in the future, or a little bit, have went into a little bit more specifics of like how some of these characters got there. But I know you don't really have the time to do all that when you're doing the past, the present, and the future. And them, traveling, and then the future is basically Picard rounding up the Avengers, so to speak, and trying to get everybody to come back to the fold. Fallings out of different characters, Worf and Riker, and even Riker and Picard a little bit, and there's just like been this distance, or they've grown apart over the years. And so it's an amazing episode, but I do actually really understand kind of their viewpoint of like, it's not really what they love out of Star Trek. It's more in line with, your Yesterday's Enterprise, or your, Inner Light, or Cause and Effect. Like these episodes that are kind of held in high esteem by the community, and they obviously are pretty good episodes. The bulk of us wouldn't like those if there wasn't merit there, if they weren't pretty good episodes. But the more I've spent time with them, watching their reactions, and I've just been watching their the first like 4 or 5 episode reactions, 6 technically, of DS9, and they're loving it. And that's the thing, they're eating it up, and I think a lot of us thought they would, for those reasons. And so, and some of those reasons are kind of a different trajectory than your classic ship stuff or anomaly or some kind of sci-fi plot that I always actually gravitated to. Like, I loved the technobabble. I loved to hear their explanation and kind of trying to figure it out, but in a 24th century style. You know, it's a lot different than like Sherlock trying to figure out, you know, a murder or whatever. Like, you know, whether you go back to Clues or you go back to some of these other where, you know, there's an investigation and that, you know, Drumhead or, you know, Ardra and Devil's Due, and, you know, trying to figure out like what exactly is going on here. You know, there's parts of it that sometimes can feel almost on par with like a Law and Order episode, like when they're actually having to do the, you know, investigating, and they're going from place to place and they're interviewing people and they're, you know, checking up on leads. I've always loved that. I mean, I go back to like Columbo and Murder, She Wrote and Matlock, and I grew up with a lot of those shows and reruns, and I definitely appreciate Perry Mason. You know, some of these ones where, whether it was mainly taking place in court or whether it was, you know, outside of court, whatever. Sometimes police, sometimes a lawyer, sometimes, you know, a defense attorney, whatever the situation is. An author with Murder, She Wrote. And so, yeah, but I can definitely understand them not being as over the moon about all good things as some of us in the community. So, that being said, I'm glad that they really enjoyed it. They enjoyed it as a send-off. And I'm glad that, you know, for the most part, they liked it. You know, if they would have given it a grade, and I don't think they did, but I'm sure they would have given it like an A or something, you know, because of how much they did. You know, there was fan service, there's O'Brien, there's, you know, now as a fan of the show in the way I was a fan, there were always a couple things that I, you know, nitpick kind of things out of all good things, right? And like one of them was that I always wish Data had gotten a little bit more time to be the future version, to be a little bit more fleshed out. Because the thing is like, he talks about having emotions. He says, you know, the lady, and keep in mind, she was in a couple other episodes. You know, she was in Time Zero, whatever, as the lady, the landlord lady or whatever that they're renting the room from. But yeah, you know, he says, oh, well, she always did make me laugh, or she always does make me laugh, or whatever. And I was like, okay. Like, as a kid, it didn't even really dawn on me. I mean, again, I was maybe 14, 15, 16. It didn't even really dawn on me that, like, oh, he has emotions now in the future. They don't cover any of that. They don't talk, you know, there's never, and I mean, again, it's been 20, 30 years. Of course, they're not going to still be talking about that. But if Picard, remembering more from his other timelines, it would have been interesting if he mentioned, like, now I can't remember. When is it that you know, got your emotions chip again? Or, oh, yeah, now I remember. It was shortly after, whatever. I don't know. It would have been a little cool breadcrumb, because to me, and the other thing is that they say that, but he has very few, you know, other than like a little bit of a smile when he sees Beverly. You know, it's not like he doesn't laugh. He doesn't, the only thing I can think of is that he's a little bit more emphatic when he's talking to Riker about the causality and the paradox, and that they're looking for the anomaly. They could have created the very anomaly that they've been looking for. The other thing is when him and Geordi are talking, and Geordi's like, you know, do you really believe he's moving through time? And he has that pause for a minute. It kind of like pretense. And like, Data wouldn't do that if he didn't have emotions, but like, he stops and he's kind of like, I'm not sure, I do either, but, or Geordi says, I'm not sure I do either, but he's the captain of the Enterprise, and if he wants to, whatever. Or maybe it's Beverly, actually, that says that. Like, do you actually believe he's traveling through time? And Geordi kind of, looks down or kind of shrugs his shoulders, and, Data, same kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, it's those kind of moments that they didn't go over the top with it. They didn't have him talking to Geordi and laughing and joking around and whatever, like in Generations. And, if you are a fan of the movies, that, like, once Data gets his emotions in Generations, once he gets the chip, later on in the movies, it's way more toned down. I kind of feel like it was a little bit of Brent Spiner, and it was a little bit of the creative team that is like, hey, let's go ham. Like, you've never been able to do anything funny, so let's have you, doing a puppet tricorder thing, and let's have you joking around and referencing, Encounter at Farpoint and a joke you never understood. So, I do get it, but, yeah, all in all, I always loved All Good Things. I get sentimental. It, feels like you're saying goodbye to an old friend. Picard coming in at the end, and it was always kind of a touching moment in that. And Riker and Worf kind of making up, and all of them learning what Picard learned in his experience, and trying to essentially prevent things from happening the way that they did precisely. Who knows if that's going to undo Geordi getting with Leia Brahms or what, but so yeah, and they seem to really like it, and yeah, I mean, that's all I would have expected. I thought they were either going to go somewhere in between, like a really like it or love it. And I think All Good Things goes down in history as one of the greatest series finales of all time. I mean, people like Kevin Feige and Seth MacFarlane, and a lot of people have talked about being influenced by the show, and, talked about, all the different stuff, as far as like multiverse kind of stuff, alternate realities, just sci-fi in general. And the other thing, too, and I'm just going to add this in, I'm going to finish up here very shortly, is that, if you go back, and I want to reference this, I can't remember what the episode is, but there's an episode of Twilight Zone that when I watched it, this is years after, it's HD and it's on Netflix, whatever, and I was watching episodes and I found out how much I really liked it. And I was seeing episodes that I was like, oh my God, like, is this where they got this episode of TNG from? There was an episode, and it was like a British pilot, and he's flying, and he's in the middle of a battle, and he apparently, like, hops out of time, and now he's in the future, and he's talking to them and, whatever. And I was like, dude, this literally could be yesterday's Enterprise. And then they convince him, or he wants to. He's like, hey, I need to go back, or we need you to go back. Your ship went missing, or, whatever it was. And I forget all the details of the episode. But if you guys liked yesterday's Enterprise, definitely see if you can find that episode. And, I mean, honestly, if you like sci-fi and TNG in general, I would suggest to go watch all of Twilight Zone. There's definitely some cool sci-fi paranormal things. There's some little bit more mundane, like, whatever, like making a pact with the devil or this and this, some different scenarios in those different episodes. But I love Twilight Zone. So anyway, but it is cool to see that inspiration. And I guarantee you some of the writers, whether it be a Michael Piller, a Ronald Moore, a Brandon Braga, were inspired by stuff like Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, back in the day. So Anyway, I think that's going to do it for my thoughts. I guess the final thing that I'll talk about is, I've been watching Target Audience now for 2 years, 3 years, however long their TNG run. I think they were still on TOS when I first started watching them, or maybe they were into TNG but not like too far, like I want to say like late season 2 or season 3. And I started watching, and I wasn't watching every episode. I didn't like their format as well as I do now. And, again, they would talk about characters, and it would seem like they were so, like, out of the loop on certain things in TNG. I'm like, man, these guys don't know anything about TNG. And, some of that stuff comes over time. They're very knowledgeable about TNG now. And they're still a little bit in the dark about DS9 stuff, but again, they're only on season 3, so I feel like it takes a good couple seasons. Plus, season 1 and 2 aren't my favorite, like a lot of us Star Trek fans, so I kind of was like waiting for them to get to the later episodes before I was going to really start watching their reactions. So, but I've been with them, since season 3 pretty much on. I've watched every episode, and I enjoy their personality and some of their hijinks and their sense of humor. And, back when they were, they had the other guy that they were filming with, and they just referenced that they killed the guy and, hit him behind the couch or whatever. And changing of sets and moving locations and changing it, having just a couple episodes a week to getting way more patrons and doing 3 episodes a week and then 4 episodes a week and then eventually adding in stuff like X-Files. And I really appreciated their journey, and All Good Things kind of felt in a way like an end of a benchmark with them. So I've enjoyed that, and I'm really excited, and I think a lot of you are too, to get into this next wave of DS9 and Voyager and some of the other movies, Generations, First Contact, whatnot. So I'm definitely excited, and I hope some of you guys are too. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on Target Audience, your journey with them, some of your favorite reactions they've done or favorite episodes that they've reacted to. The bonding, or whatever, which I admit is a really good episode. But or were you bummed that they weren't super into the Inner Light, or were you surprised that they were blown away by Lessons, or how much they've started to like DS9 in the season 3, especially like the Abandoned, and that was my, I was like, oh my god, this is an amazing reaction. And the loophole that technically it's season 3 episode 5, because the season started with a 2-parter, and I was dying laughing. I was like, oh my god, that was crazy, hoping that season 3 episode 5 was going to be an important episode because it was the bonding, and then now it's the Abandoned, which is technically episode 6, but like I said, kind of finding a loophole. And I just have a lot of fun. I find myself looking forward to their reactions so much. Dude, I'm on the edge of my seat, and I'm pissed on days where they're not reacting. I'm like, come on guys, give me something to do, because again, it's a fun little daily ritual. It pops up on YouTube, and I watch it, and then I'll record my reaction to what I thought, and sometimes I'm 5-6 episodes behind, just so I'm not right on their coattails. But give it some time to breathe, and give myself time to kind of think about how they reacted and what their thoughts were and stuff. So anyway, that's going to do it for me, guys, and I hope you will stick around for the bulk of this reaction. I know it's way longer than it normally being a short, and I'm going to just go back to doing that for the regular, episode to episode reactions. But I wanted to say a little bit more because it was the end of TNG, and kind of the end of our first leg of this journey, together. I didn't want TOS, but so anyway, I definitely I'm glad you guys are checking out the videos, and I hope you guys are checking out Target Audience and enjoying their content, and hopefully mine as well. And I'll see you next time.